It is a good morning, isn't it? I mean, can't we all just agree on that? It is a really good morning. And it's really good to be here this morning. Hey, Sally. It is really, really good to be here this morning. To be here sharing with you this morning. To be here in a place of choosing to be a beneficial presence on the planet, as Reverend Michael calls it. We're going to start out this morning. We've done some music, and we're going to start out with an opening prayer. And I have something that I want to share with you as part of that opening prayer. But first, I'm just going to be still in this moment and invite you all to just get still, get comfortable. Be here now. Be here now. Fully aware, fully present, and available to this moment. It's beautiful. Yes. And in the beauty of this moment, there's so many possibilities. There's so much potential for what can be, what can unfold from right here, right now. What are we going to create going forward? What do we choose? So in this moment, there was something that Ernest Holmes wrote that I wrote down on a little piece of paper. And you see I have some other stuff scribbled on a piece of paper too. But one of the things that I love that he says is that there is only one power in the universe, one presence, and it is good. And when I say good, I put some extra O's in there, and then my D is way at the end because it's good. So that's what I'm talking about. It is love. I agree with that. And we call it God. Some people choose to call it something else. And it doesn't really matter. I really don't think that the divine infinite intelligence that created all that is really hung up on names. But we choose to call it God. It is where we are all the time. We are in it. And since it is present everywhere, it is in us. And it is all the same God. And so we used to have, as I said last week, we used to have a bunch of words on the walls and a bunch of symbols up there. And then we decided on these words: one God. For clarity's sake, for simplicity's sake, and for each week, before they go up on the wall, we're going to invite you to come up and just touch them at the end of service or whenever you feel led to come up and touch them sometime after service or before service. And allow your essence and just feel it. Don't pick them up. I don't invite you to pick them up because they have nails on the back. And we don't want the nails to hurt anybody. But they are going to go back on the wall. And so now we're going to go from that place of knowing that there is one power, one presence, one God, and that we are always in it, and it is us. Do you realize that those are the first two steps of treatment? There's one life, one power, that is God, and I am one with that life. I am in it. That's recognition and unity right there. and we step into declaration. So I, Brandy, declare right now, from the place of being aligned and one with that one, that essence, that power, that presence, it is in me, as me, it is me right here and right now, and I declare from it. And as I declare, I decree. And as I decree, I establish. And so from that knowing that my declaration decrees and establishes, I decree and declare and establish and know right here, right now, that all of us are unified in one. We are in this unified field of existence, and we are all one with this divine presence, this divine power. It is every life that passes through those doors, passes through those gates. It is from the foundation to the rafters. It is every square foot, every square yard of this property, of this building and beyond. It is every life everywhere. It is those that are here in this room. It is those that are en route. And I declare and know that all are blessed right here and right now, wherever they may be. And for those of us who are right here, right now, I know that we are in the right place at the right time for our highest and greatest unfoldment of our highest and greatest good. And that is why we are here. It is because we were called, and we answered the call. And we came and we showed up. And we are creating something unique and magnificent and wonderful right here and right now. Something that is new and fresh, that is unfolding out of our beingness and out of our desire to be here and experience something wonderful and magnificent. And so I declare and decree and establish that we anchor ourselves fully in the divine presence, in the divine awareness, in the divine goodness, in love and peace and bliss and joy and harmony and all the wonderful goodness that God is. We anchor ourselves in these principles right now, allowing love to lead the way. Unconditional love. We allow ourselves to be fully supported and fueled by that unconditional, pure love that God is. We are that right here and right now. We are that peace that surpasses understanding. It doesn't have anything to do with circumstances that are going on. It doesn't have anything to do with appearances. We are anchored in a peace that doesn't have anything to do with any of that. When the apostles were on the water and they were being tossed about, Jesus walked calmly out on the water and said, "Peace, be still." After he invited Peter to walk out on the water with him. So we are in that. We are anchored in that peace that surpasses the understanding of the appearances. We are anchored in that. We stand in that. We declare it. We decree it. And we establish that peace. We establish that love. We establish that joy. It comes up from within here and it pulses out unto everyone that we meet and we greet. It begins within. We declare it, we decree it, we establish it, we be it. And as we be it, because we are anchored in it, we are sitting in it. It already is us because we are already one with the one that is all joy, that created joy. And so that joy wells up from within. It's an inside job. Bliss is an inside job. All of it is an inside job. Our abundance and prosperity is an inside job. And so as I decree for each one of us this morning, I am also decreeing for a young woman named Janine and her husband who came this this morning, and her only story was about establishing a roof over her head. And what I am knowing is that that's already provided for her and her husband. I declare it, I decree it, and it is established. It is already done for her. Whenever she steps fully into the awareness that the roof over her head is already hers, however she chooses to see it and establish it, whether it's a cardboard box or it's a home, it's her choice. So whatever it is, it's already done in the mind of God. And guess what? She is thinking through the mind of God. She is declaring and decreeing and establishing, as we all are, through the mind of God. So however she declares it, decrees and establishes it, it's already done in the mind of God. So this morning she was in the story, she came back, she was in the tithing, and then we got to have a conversation about it being already done. The prayer has already been answered. Because there's a quote in the Bible that says, it is already done as you believe. It is done unto you as you believe. But God knows what you're asking and has already answered before you ask, because He already knows it. God already knows what you're asking for. So this morning we are knowing, and I am knowing right here and right now, that this service is blessed. That we all are blessed. And whatever needs to come forth, I surrender right now my full beingness into this moment and each and every moment going forward. I surrender my mouth, my body, my spirit, myself, my mind, my voice, knowing that I am one with the one, and that everything that proceeded from here proceeded as the one decides to allow it to come through, because I am already aligning myself with that which is good, which is love, which is harmony, which is peace, which is joy, which is bliss, which is unconditional love. And that I know is what comes forward in gratitude and love and joy and understanding. And it comes through in a way that you can receive it. And it comes through in a way that it fills your hearts. And it comes through in a way with pure understanding and knowing. I know that this is the truth. I am thankful for it. I'm thankful for this new cause that has been set in motion by the power of this word. I let it go and let it be in gratitude, knowing that it is already done. Like a seed planted in the fertile soil, I drop it. And I let the soil do what it do. And let God do what He do. And I let it be. Let's seal it together by saying, and so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Let it do what it do.
Let God do what He do. I have these cards. And every morning I usually try to pull 5. And just shuffle them about. See what little nuggets Spirit has for me. Now, as you notice, the service is a little bit different than what's normal, because what I decided when Spirit, well, I wasn't really me who decided, Spirit spoke up and said 2 weeks. So I spoke last week and I'm speaking this week. And then when I was doing, after the service last week and I was doing my meditation, Spirit said, 3 weeks. You're doing the 3rd week too. And I said, okay. I've learned to just listen. But it's not a listening from out here. It's an inside job. And that's really what this whole ministry is about. It's about listening on the inside. It's about turning within and accepting those intuitive signs that are within you. And say, go this way, go that way. Do this, do that. So this morning I was compelled again to pull the cards. Some days I'm not. But this morning they were in my bag and I hadn't pulled them yet. And something said when I got up here to pull them. So here's what came up today, and I want to share it with you. And what came up, I want to share that with you too. What came up was, do you, Brandy? So I kind of tossed the program, because that was somebody else's idea before I even got here, and I just kind of kept putting it and kept following it. Then I realized that somebody had told me how they wanted me to dress and wear high heels and dress for the workplace, is what the article said. I said, well, our place is really come as you are. Come with what feels good to you. If Jesus could say to the woman, he that is without sin cast the first stone, and everybody walk away, then I don't think anybody has any problem with me being up here with my flip-flops off, being barefoot. I see you feeling me. It's not about what I'm wearing. It's not about what anybody's wearing. We got to look deeper than that. What's in the soul? What do you feel from the presence of the person in front of you? Can you feel that and acknowledge that? And so when I really started getting into what was going to work for me, I realized I really don't like high heels. I have some and I wear them occasionally, and usually when I get where I'm going, I kick them off. But you guys can't see that from back there. Sometimes I'm doing this, trying to pretend like I'm still in the high heels when I'm back there, when I'm really not. And I said, no more pretending. Be who you are and allow that to authentically come through. And it feels better. It feels more real. It feels authentic. So here's what I pulled this morning. Bless every person and condition and give thanks. And as I was doing the meditation, I noticed that at first I was having a little bit of difficulty catching my breath. And then I started giving thanks for all the air that's available and my beautiful lungs. And then all of a sudden I saw a tree right in front of me. And I realized that when we release breath, we nourish the trees, and the trees release oxygen for us. And so there appeared in my meditation a tree. And we were just breathing back and forth, nourishing each other. So we should be willing to bless every person and condition and give thanks. And as I started to give thanks for that tree showing up and giving me my breath, and me giving it what it needed, sharing, we were sharing back and forth. Oh, it was so delicious. When the meditation ended, I was like, no, I want to do more. Me and this tree are having this really great, awesome time right now. This is a good one. You're invited to be the cause of your experience. With that comes a lot of responsibility, but it also gives you great power. You got to use it wisely. You're invited to be the cause of your own experience. This is the first time I've had the opportunity of choosing this one, but it's so beautiful. Joy, truth, love. These three are interchangeable, and one always leads to the other. I can get with that. When I'm standing in my joy and my truth, like I'm standing in it now, I'm feeling a whole lot of love. Just feel that for a moment. Sit right now in your joy and in your authentic truth about who you are, how awesome you are. Feel that love for yourself. Just feel it. The next one says, you have a right to your joy. That's delicious. I tell you, sometimes you just want to laugh. You just feel this little tickle. And you just laugh, laugh, laugh. Sometimes you laugh until your side hurts. Me and my son were talking about laughter the other day, and I was telling him about these little machines that come out around Christmas. And sometimes they can be kind of annoying. You walk into CVS and there's this big little Santa sitting up there and he's just giggling. And then somebody will touch him and he'll start giggling. But it's almost infectious because whoever it is, I would just like to be in the room with whoever it is that recorded that laugh. Because it is hysterically funny. And even if you are in a icky mood, that thing will make you laugh. They even have one that's shaped like a bass, like a big fish. And he's got this laugh. And it just makes you wonder, who is the person behind the laugh? Because it's so good. You have a right to your joy. And even when the people around you don't seem to be experiencing joy, and you're offering them your smiles, and you're offering them your love and your joy, and they might come at you with something hard or fierce or not nice. So, that's their story. You still have a right to your joy. You don't have to let it go and take on their stuff. I call it staying in your lane. Just stay in your lane, stay on course, and stay in your lane and stay in your joy, and just keep being the joy that you are. And eventually, they'll either want some of that, or they'll have to step off. More than likely, they want some of that, and they're crying out for some of that, which is why they're being who they're being. And here's a good one. If now there is something you wish to experience in your life, don't want it. Choose it. Let's just sit in that for a moment. Think about something right here and right now that you've been in a place of want around. You've been in a place of want around something. And instead of wanting it, choose it. Just choose it. And now sit in the space of having it. If you chose right now to take a sip of water or tea or coffee or anything else that you had, you have the power to pick it up, take a sip. In the same way you choose that, it's just as simple. Choose it. Savor it. And as we do that, I'm going to invite Mark to play One Day in Heaven. Or better awareness of what one day in heaven is, we can choose it every day. And we can be from it every day. It doesn't have to just be one day. But since we live one day, one moment at a time, each moment, each choice is heaven. So I have some stuff to share with you this morning that I've been guided to share with you. I was reading in the Science of Mind magazine. It won't be coming out until, well, it's the October issue for this year. And it has a Yama Van Zandt on the cover. Some of you, if you get the issues at your home, you may already have it. And in there, there's an article about a woman. I don't want to do a spoiler thing. I want you to be able to experience it for yourself, but I'm going to share some of it. And there's a woman who was having an experience with cancer. Her name is Erica. I'm going to get her last name correct. Erica Luckett. And she was told she had 30 minutes to live. What do you do with that? 30 minutes to live. And so she and her significant other, her partner, she said there really was not time enough to really express much. But so much was expressed just through looking into each other's eyes. There was this silent communication of all the love, everything they had shared and continued to share, and the love in that moment. And there became a surrendering into love in such a complete and full way. And the gist of it is that she came through it with this. This is what I got out of it and love so much. She says, live each day as fully as possible. Love more abundantly. And leave the world better than you found it. She said better than I found it. I say better than I found it. And I invite each one of us to say better than I found it. So let us each take that on if we choose. Live each day as fully as possible. Love more abundantly. And leave the world better than I found it. So in doing that, I want to share with you a dream that I had this week. I've been doing a lot of work. Many of you may not have known about it. Some of you heard about it a couple of weeks ago in our meeting, our membership meeting that we had a few weeks ago. And some of you didn't hear about it. But anyway, in June, I got hit on the head with something pretty heavy, and I got a concussion. And at the time, I didn't know I got a concussion. I just thought I got hit on the head really hard. And when I went to the doctor, they found out that I had a concussion, and I had something called post-concussive syndrome. And so it was hard. I couldn't read things. I couldn't do stimulation of any kind, being up here and speaking, even talking on the phone, stuff like that. Reading, writing, those things were not things that I could really do well in that moment. Now, coming from my background, that wasn't easy to do. So I had to be still and be quiet a lot. And then, as I shared last week, there was this one book that my husband came home with after I'd had this dream for 5 or 6 days, 5 days. And I finally asked, what did this symbol mean in the dream? And he said, it's the key to, and I said, it's the key to what? It's the key to everything. And that day, my husband came home with a book, and he gave it to me. And he said, a friend of mine offered this book, said, maybe you might be interested. Before that book, I hadn't been able to read, but when I looked at the book, it looked just like a piece of that symbol that was in the dream. That was the key to everything. I said, well, maybe I'm going to be able to read. And when I tell you I opened this book up and started reading it, it wasn't like reading, it was like breathing. And I began breathing it. And it guided me to begin doing a lot of work, inner work, and doing this inner journey. And that's how I can tell you with clarity this morning, with assurance, that it is an inside job. Everything begins within. And that when I say you have a right to your joy, I mean that. And I mean to count everything in your life. I don't care how traumatic it was, how devastating it seemed in the moment. It brought you to right now. Count it as joy. I'm telling you, getting hit on the head that day, yes, it hurt. Yes, having to be so still and so quiet and have all that chatter going on in my mind and having to try to find a way to make it shut up. It wasn't easy. It's been weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of work and work and work and work and months. But it's worth it. And I count that day as joy. But here's the thing. When you get in alignment, and you are in alignment with what is your higher self, you won't call those experiences as much into your life. You see, because that morning before I left home, my son, who is very in alignment, very much in alignment and knowing who he is, children very much are, because they don't have all the stuff that we packed on the layers through our lives. He told me more than once that morning, let's not go to the church that day. And I heard intuitively, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And even as I was opening the door to my car to come, the voice said again, don't go. And I argued back, but I have to. So you see, that inner voice was speaking. It always is. And since that time, I've been listening. And things have been coming up into my experience. And I've been counting them as joy. So when I heard 2 weeks, I said, okay, I'll be there. And last week when it said 1 more week, all right, whatever you say, I'm there. And so, when I asked about what I could share with you this morning, it showed me a dream that I had this week. I was walking through a garden with a very powerful queen. And I was in a place called Bangladesh. I've never been to Bangladesh. And to be honest with you, Geographically, I couldn't even point it out to you on a map right now without probably a magnifying glass and doing some looking for a little bit. But I will know before the week is out where Bangladesh is. And as I was walking through the garden with this queen, and we were dressed very beautifully, and there was this immense garden. It was so beautiful. There were flowers of every kind, trees, and it was just beauty. It was more beautiful than anything I've ever seen in my life. But I was aware that there was a cord tied around my ankle, and there was a rope. This was the end of the rope was tied around my ankle, just like this rose quartz is around my ankle now, which stands for love, is around my ankle now. It was a cord around my ankle, and there was a rope attached. And I had on this long, beautiful gown, but I was aware that there was a cord attached. And there was only so much cord left, but there was so much more garden to see. And oh, in my heart of hearts, I wanted to see this garden in its entirety. But every now and then I would check the cord, see how much is left. How much is left? How much further can I go? And as you can see, there's a cord attached to this microphone. How much further can I go? If the queen noticed the cord, she never acknowledged it. She kept her head. You see, she was aligned with who she was. She was powerful. She was clear. And she wasn't involved in my lack and limitation. It didn't have nothing to do with her. It wasn't none of her business. Because we were in her garden. And she'd go anywhere she wanted in her garden. She never acknowledged the cord. And I kept walking beside her. We're walking through the garden. And I'm checking this cord. Finally, I get to where I'm at the end of all that this cord will allow me to do. I'm as far as the cord will allow me to go. And so I get to that place. And I don't want to tell her that this is as far as I can go. So I stand there and I try to stall for a minute, you know. So I'm telling her, oh, what's this? So she's telling me what this plant is. I say, oh, what's this plant over here? And it's so beautiful. And she's explaining the plant and the heritage of the plant and where it came from and how she had it imported. And she's standing there with me and she's talking to me. And I have on my beautiful gown and I'm looking. And then she goes to step off and move on into the garden. And I say, Your Majesty, I have to tell you something. I can't go on any further. And she looked at me and she said, why not, my child? And I said, because. And I raised my dress a little bit. And I revealed to her the cord. And she said, what is the desire in your heart? Do you wish to see more of the garden? And I said, oh, why, yes. That is truly my heart's desire. I want to see it in its entirety. She said, well, my dear, there's only one thing that I see for you to do. And I don't know where it came from. She pulled out the most beautiful golden sword. And she said, you must sever the cord. And with one swipe, swoosh, I severed the cord, gave the sword back to the queen, and we continued to see the garden. And I feel like That cord represented every limited belief I had ever held about myself. Every limited idea I had ever held about myself. Every limited choice I had ever held about myself. Every unforgiveness I had ever had about myself. Every lack in my life was finally gone. I let it go. I severed it. And I'm free to see the entirety of God's garden. You are free in every moment. And so I give you in love, in bliss, in peace, in joy, in harmony, in light, and in the power and the magnificence of God.